All right, so you actually see Bruce's charts up right now. And let me write, so Bruce and I are going to be tag teaming this presentation with y'all. You can see his charts up. All right, I'll probably grab that for a few minutes. So Bruce, if you can hear me, which I hope you can, I'm going to grab the charts for a few minutes, and then I'll pass it back over to you. So thanks everybody for the, I'm stoked. Okay, thanks for, number one, thanks for the interest in coming out after what was probably one of the more boring days in the market that I've seen in a while. All right, I can see your questions in the Q&A, gang, so if you have any questions, type them in there. I can see the questions there, and no problem. And I'll be here throughout the presentation too after I'm done on the mic. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Bruce in just a minute. So looks like we still got some people coming on in. So Jason, you can send your questions here, questions in right through that Q&A where I see your question right now. Yep, I can see it. And we should have sound. So I think we're good to go. All right, fantastic. So welcome. This is the Q&A session. So you all know that Bruce is doing a class tomorrow. And I'm super excited about this because one of the things that, and let me just grab my screen for a minute. And then Bruce, you can grab that back. Okay. So y'all should see my screen there. Okay. Cool. All right. So one of the things that you'll notice is that Bruce and I have been talking a lot the last couple of weeks. And ever since I did the TOPS class back in October, it seems so long ago, and introduced the Darvis and propulsion and wave and grab, one of the things that I did not know is that Bruce was playing around with these indicators and putting on some really great trades. And he shared with me what he was doing. And basically, I want to walk you guys through some of the indicators that Bruce is going to use. You've probably seen me use them in the SR room or the SF room, and Bruce is now using them as well to put on the kind of trades that, quite frankly, I don't. I am not an active options trader, which is why I'm so excited to kind of team up with Bruce to do this. Because for the first time, I'm able to look at the way in which someone with 30 years experience in options is putting on a butterfly. And my issue has always been, I'm not super active in butterflies or really options trading. And I love this word. Bruce kind of threw this out there the other day, or just today, simplify. How do you simplify butterflies? I love that. I'm totally going to rob that, Bruce. I'm going to totally steal that. So what I'm excited about is, in terms of most of the options traders that I'm aware of, now just a show of hands in the Q&A so I can see them. How many of you are currently bias subscribers? How many of you are members of the bias service? And I'm going to walk through how I use these indicators, and Bruce is going to show you some examples. Okay, so a lot of you are. Okay, that's excellent. Excellent. And let me walk you through just a few things about the indicators, and I'm going to pass it on over to Bruce, and then we're going to take some Q&A into the latter part of this session. So for some of you, this would probably feel semi-familiar, but how many of you are familiar with the TOPS indicators? Darvis, propulsion, wave, grab, and how many of you this is the first time? First time? Experienced? Never seen them before? Okay. All right, cool. Cool. All right. So with that being said, I'm actually going to just walk you through a little bit of my TOPS class, a couple of the slides, and most of them having to do with clarity. Okay. So I'm not going to be doing the bulk of the presentation, but I do want to share a few things with you guys here. Market clarity is what Bruce has really been able to, I think, take the TOPS indicators apply the butterfly strategy to them and realize that you have to adapt to markets that are going to continue to punch up to higher highs, that when it's more of a foregone conclusion that we're going to punch up to a new high, a new high, a new high, how do you put on positions as an options income trader without getting steamrolled? And a lot of options income traders out there in the interweb are getting steamrolled because they're not making the shifts that Bruce is making. So, when it comes to understanding what the market's going to do, right now, it's pretty much accelerate through new highs, break through those new highs, and continue on the path of the uptrend. Now, there's so much I want to share with you because I had such a great conversation with Bruce. And I'm just amazed what he's been able to take with these indicators and just simplify the process. So a few things that I want to mention. Acceleration is what my propulsion indicator does. And those are the dots on the charts. Now, these work on TOS. You're going to see Bruce use TOS charts. These work on TradingView. These work on TradeStation. But these little dots, and I'm going to show you today's, I'm going to show you today's trade of the week. So a lot of you should be familiar with that. This was a textbook example. And Bruce mentioned three things that I think were incredibly impactful because this is what he knew he'd be able to do. It's the least expensive way to take advantage of it, the butterfly. It's the best probability for success, and you won't get destroyed. And then what he has done is he's taking these indicators, and this is charting for non-chartists. If you typically build your options trades in the platform, say TOS or Tasty, and you're not really looking at the underlying price action, this is going to give you an edge that most options traders do not have. This is charting for people who do not even like charts, generally speaking, right? So for those of you that took the TOPS class, then you know, okay, wait a minute, Raghee trades Forex and futures and some ETFs, but yeah, she really doesn't do anything more than directional puts and calls, which, by the way, is very aggressive and oftentimes fairly painful. I don't do a lot of it, but that's the downside. So here was the big thing. You don't get destroyed on the butterflies, but imagine being able to put butterfly positions on, knowing what the trend is, how aggressive to be, and what the likelihood is for continued momentum. So that's what these indicators do. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Bruce here in just about 3 or 4 minutes. But again, it's charting for non-chartists because with a few colors, a few dots, and a few moving averages, you're going to understand the quality, strength, and direction of the trend. Very objective. I mean, it's all about clarity, and that was what the TOPS class was all about. It was all about clarity, understanding trending versus non-trending markets. And I hope I'm not stealing Bruce's thunder, but I wanted to mention, and we'll talk about this one again. How many people, if looking at the platform and not the chart, would put the same kind of position on in General Dynamics and Boeing? What you're able to do, and what Bruce has shown me, because he's been talking to me for the last few days about what he's really doing with this, and I think it's really very simple. Better watch lists equal better trades. If your watch list is full of more of the Boeings out there and less of the General Dynamics, right? If they're full of more like Bruce's TOW, the ISRGs, and less of the ULTAs, your life becomes much easier. Way easier. Okay? So for me, again, those are some of the main points. Wave, grab, those two indicators are some moving averages and color-coded candles. You don't need to know candlesticks. You don't need to know candlestick patterns. It's really just a matter of reading colors, seeing the dots, and then I think this is a really important part of the setups, because Bruce and I were talking about ISRG before this was the TOW, is the support and resistance automation. For those of you that don't want to be drawing lines and levels all over your charts, the ability to have the automation of support and resistance is incredibly important. And that's another part of, again, the indicators that he's going to show you here and the setups. So let's see, SP, you've been using TOPS for okay, fantastic. What does TOPS stand for, Scott? It actually stands for, and this was such a kind of almost like an inside joke, but I love the acronym. The obnoxious profits system. The obnoxious profit system. And it almost kind of turned into this inside joke, and it stuck because I just love the acronym, TOPS, right? These indicators are the TOPS. So Jim, what are the main differences between TOPS? I don't trade options, right, Jim? So what this is Bruce's adaptive income method. And again, even though he does a lot of income trading and longer term time frames, one of the things I was just telling him is, Bruce, can't we do this on shorter term time frames too? And he said, oh, absolutely. So I love that. So keep that in mind when he's showing you guys the examples here in just a minute. And I don't trade options. So the mechanics of, and this is what he's taught me. The simplify is what? You take I love that, the simplify. It's almost like turbocharging your butterflies. It's super fast, super easy butterfly trade building. He's going to show you how to use Darvis, and that's part of what the course is about, and he's going to show you some examples. He's going to show you the strikes to choose and the width. That's always been something I've struggled with. I mean, butterflies are elegantly simple positions to put on, but how wide do you go? Which strikes do you pick? Right? I could tell you what TOPS does. In fact, a lot of you already know. But how do you actually build the butterfly with these tools? And that's the big difference. Right? And then, of course, he's going to add in things like the expected move and so forth. Okay? So we'll take some more questions towards the end. I want to make sure Bruce has some time with you guys to walk you through some examples. I'll take a couple questions, and then I'll pass it over. Noel, the purple versus yellow line, so these are automated support and resistance. Okay? All automated support and resistance. And the yellow lines mean it's a support and resistance that was drawn after a higher high. And the purple lines mean it was this automated support and resistance drawn after a lower low. Okay, so thanks for that question. And SP, so glad to hear you've been using the indicators, a lot of success. And then, you take it to the next level where, I've had 30 years of experience with not ETFs, but stocks and futures, and 20 years with Forex, but I don't trade options that actively. So that's the big difference. That is the big difference, all right? So Bruce is going to show you some examples. I've teased a few things already. Again, kind of think, how do you make these simplify? Oh, I love that. All right, Bruce, I'm going to let you take back the screen. If you want to go grab that, it's yours. And then I'll be back. We'll take some more Q&A on the indicators, and we will pick it up from there, okay? All right, so without further ado, here's Bruce.
All right, thanks a lot, Raghee. I appreciate it, and I I like that you like the simplify terminology. So you guys hear me all right? Test, test, test. Yep. So I'm good? Okay. All right, Jeff, thank you for letting me know that. Daryl came in and straightened me out. So, again, the whole concept of this, I was obviously watching. I watch what everybody does around here, and I'm watching, grab candles and propulsion, all this kind of stuff. And I kept thinking, well, that looks just crazy simple. I wonder if that'll work on what I'm doing. And I started using it and back testing it, and sure enough, it works. And the cool thing is it works on any time frame. It really works on any stock or index or whatever. So I started applying it, and the reason that I really started applying this, and you guys in Bias know exactly what I'm talking about, is, as you know, I've been trading, professionally for almost 30 years now. And I've done the same kind of strategies, the income strategies, big iron condors and butterflies and calendars and all kind of credit spreads and diagonals and all that stuff. And, I've never really experienced a market like we're having this year with such dramatic one-way moves. And let me pull this up here. For example, this kind of crazy one-way moves that we've had. We just haven't seen those before. In all the years I've traded, I've never seen moves like that continue without a reversion to the mean. And I know you guys got tired of hearing me say reversion to the mean, but we're just not having it. And the reason is, we've got the perfect storm of global economies and the perfect storm of quantitative easing finally, enough quantitative easing coming through and all that kind of stuff, that things are kind of firing on all cylinders, and we have corporate earnings that are coming in, for the most part, very well. So, we push higher. And as that happens, we've got the whole backdrop of tax reform. And that's kind of what started this whole thing of, it is very likely, because both sides of the aisle want to have some form of tax reform, some version of tax reform, that will get passed, and it will probably get passed this year. That will push us higher, even higher. And I think that 2018 may be more of the same as we had this year, which would be great, right? If you know when to flip the switch and, off and on, because, we will have, obviously we'll have back and forth action at some point. And, we could actually pull back a pretty fair amount right now in the indexes and still be in a very solid uptrend, right? So the question is, and the question was to me, how do I identify these, when a substantial trend change happens and be able to ride it? Because as we know, and just from conversations I've had with people in bias, we're all scratching our head going, 100 points ago in the NASDAQ or even in the S&P, well, surely it'll stall out, and it doesn't. It keeps going, right? So the big question was, how do you know how to identify trends, trend changes, not only, the momentum up, but also the shift and the momentum down, because it will happen at some point, right? And then question 2 was, what strategy works best, or how can you take advantage of trend changes and so forth. And I love trading big iron condors and calendars and that type thing, and I use all of those for the traditional income type trades. What I found, as Raghee mentioned, is that the butterfly works best for these super trending markets. And I've been back testing, for a while now, and have tweaked, I guess, a butterfly that's been working very well for me lately, and that's what I want to show you guys in the class tomorrow. And and again, the whole gist is how to identify, as Raghee says, when the gas pedal is on the floor or when it's backing off. And ultimately, there's not one perfect trade that's going to work every time, rain or shine, that type thing. You need to know all the different type strategies and when to use them. That's the key. When do you put it on? When do you take it off? When do things change? And also, you guys know I'm all into the Greeks and defending trades and all that stuff. So that's another thing that I'm going to get into is, okay, so I've got this trade on, now what? And I put together a pretty detailed plan on how to work the trade if it gets in trouble, what you do and that type thing. As usual, you guys know that have taken classes with me before. That's kind of my style. If I can stay in a trade, I will. But the beauty, to tie all that back to how Raghee and I kind of came together on this, is that I was looking at this and I kept thinking, well, this stuff really makes sense to me. It's pretty simple. I'm not a heavy indicator guy. I like voodoo levels and I like fib work and stuff like that. But for the most part, think about this. For the most part, the trades the income trades, those being iron condors, credit spreads, longer term butterflies and calendars and diagonals and that kind of stuff, for the most part, those are set out far enough in time that you don't need, a 5-minute chart or whatever, because, you're going to be 30 days out or 60 days out or whatever. So in looking at this, I said there's got to be a better way to figure out, the trend changes and when to jump on that and when not to. Now, that being said, I don't abandon the other strategies. I'll still continue to use those. But what I found is that, especially this year, I've had, and really it's been primarily in the NDX and in the Russell. I had a couple of very, very wide iron condors in the NDX that pretty much everything that we've done this year as far as income trades either takes heat or gets hurt on the upside as you have these markets. And again, the entire gist of this is what kind of market are we going to be in next year and the year after that, for the foreseeable future. And I think that we might, maybe the magnitude won't be as great next year. I don't know, but I think we will have periods of, spurts of long extended moves, assuming tax plan goes through, tax reform and all that. And even if it doesn't, or the final version that everyone is hoping for isn't exactly, what they're thinking or what the market likes, we still got very strong earnings. I think there's a very good backdrop for, more of the same next year again, which is awesome if you know how to take advantage of it. Now, on the surface, you might think, well, I'll just, this year, the best thing you could have done on January 1st is just bought a bunch of long calls on everything across the board. Doesn't matter. Throw a dart, buy long calls, and, don't look at it again until December, right? I don't know if that's going to work if we get into more of a zigzag market where we have retracements and then spurts of momentum, that may not work. It may, but it may not. That's also very expensive if you're going out further in time. So I'm going through the different trades and trying to figure out which strategies work best for the type market that I anticipate that we will be in next year. So that's kind of, where all this came from. And, and it's from my personal experience. And once I saw this and learned how to, interpret what all this means, it just, a light bulb went off, and I thought, this is pretty easy. It makes it a lot easier. The other thing about it that I really love, people ask me all the time, how do you find your stocks? How do you find setups and that type of thing? I do a tremendous amount of screening, searching, scanning for stocks, that type of thing. Using this method dramatically shortens the time frame down on scanning, because I can look at a chart literally, and I'm going to show you how to do this. It's pretty obvious, but you can look at a chart for, 2 seconds and know if you want to fool around with it or not. And Raghee mentioned Boeing, and I'll show you. So this is Boeing. Everything looks great. If you guys that have used tops, everything looks great on here, right? I mean, that's just great. Now, what about General Dynamics? Same sector, right? Ugly chart, right? And I can look at that in 1 second and tell you I don't want to play with this one, unless I'm shorting. But the bottom line is I'm using this to greatly accelerate my ability to scan for stocks and new ideas. And again, that's what we're going to look at, and I'm going to show you exactly, kind of what the keys that I'm looking for, step 1, step 2, step 3, as I'm going through these charts, and enables me to, dig deeper or pass, on a setup. And, again, Raghee mentioned, and it's funny because I'm looking at this on larger time frames, and Raghee says, well, can you drill down and use the same stuff? And I'm like, yeah, it absolutely works. It's the same thing. So, time frames are very, very important to every type trading, but I'm going to show you how flexible, I guess, they can be. And the other thing too is what we've run into and what we are faced with now. And let me go, I'll show you the rut. You know, what we're, I guess, faced with is the best word I can come up with, is that, you know, now, you know, we're trading in this kind of stuff where, especially you guys that have been trading with me, you know, we made a lot of money during this first part of the year. You know, this is easy stuff, right? But then you get into this and you're in a whole new ball game, and then we sell off, and then we're back in again. So foot on the gas here, foot off the gas here, foot on the gas here. You know, how do you know what, you know, when that changes and what to do with it? You know, that's the thing. So again, that's, you know, that's what we are going to that's what we're going to talk about and go over. I am going to obviously give you guys some setups. I've got quite a few examples ready to go and some live trades. We're not going to do live trading with this. It won't be that critical. I'll give you some setups tomorrow night in the class, and we can, you know, take those the next day, you know, for sure. But again, it is it's very easy to use, and it's very simple, and it's very fast, and that's what I like about it. Now, we were talking also, Raghee and I were talking about, you know, different strategies, and I said, you know, this is a very straightforward strategy, but it's, you know, you have your options toolbox, right? And when do you know when to use a diagonal versus a butterfly versus an iron condor, that type of thing. This is will always be a way to identify trend changes. It will also be a strategy that you can have in your back pocket that you can take out and use whenever, you know, whenever the need comes up. But as we know, and as we can tell here, you know, obviously things change. So you have to be kind of willing to adapt, and that's what, again, that's what the whole key to this is. And it's funny, I was explaining this to Craig and some of the guys here, and we were talking about it, and you know, I said the key, this allows you to adapt your method of income trading to different markets. And Craig, who is the guy that writes a lot of our stuff for us, he said, "Oh, AIM, adaptive income method," and I was like, "Yeah, sounds pretty good." But that's all it is. You know, you have to adapt to the market that you're in, right? Market's going to throw curveballs at you forevermore. It won't ever do exactly what you think it will, right? Might in the short term, and then, you know, in a day or two, but, you know, it will always throw us curveballs, right? So again, we have to know when to do, to add on adaptive kind of trades and when to do traditional kind of trades from an income standpoint. And again, you can take the same methodology and apply it on different time frames and do shorter term, you know, trading. You know, I guess I suppose you could do weeklies, or dailies. I do weeklies all the time too. So let me look real quick. I want to make sure I'm covering everything. Yeah, I will, again, if we have time, I think we will, tomorrow night. I was going to, after I do the class, and I've got quite a few examples. We'll open it up, and I'll get you guys to throw out some names, and we'll set some things up. I'll have some things already ready to go based on tomorrow's close as well that we can actually use. I've got an SPX trade kind of in my mind that I want to do, so and I found it using this, so we'll do that as well. What is the cost of the class? It is a dirt cheap class. It is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's $197, I believe. It is it's a very low price class. I think it's the lowest price class we do, because there's no live trading. There's no, if we do a Saturday class and it's, 5 hours and we have 3 days of live trading, all that kind of stuff, it gets into more. This is a very inexpensive class. The other thing too, I'm glad you reminded me, one of the bigger I don't want to say bigger, but one of the main uses that I have found in using Raghee's tools is, again, when to step out of the way of a freight train, right? And again, I did some back testing and I found some trades that I should never have entered, that if I would have been using this, I would not have entered, right? And that alone can save you. If you never make a dime on a trade from the class, if I can save you from stepping on a landmine, it's worth it. And these indicators combined in the way that I use them, they really do. They can really save you. Let's see. Oh, that reminds me also, we are going to have, for you guys that have never seen these indicators, we're going to give you a link. Daryl is going to be here, I believe. Raghee's going to come in the class with me tomorrow night, kind of walk you through the indicators and what they mean, so forth. The indicators, the best thing, these are free. There's no charge for these. We can send you the link. They load into TOS. I know they work in TradeStation, so forth, whatever. I think pretty much whatever platform you use. I use TOS, so I can't speak for the other platforms, but again, simple indicator, simple to use, makes things very fast and free. I mean, what's better than that? It's pretty good, right? So let's see. Can you screen share your charts? Look different. Yeah, if you guys, I did switch over my screens. If it's still flashing, I don't know why it should not be. Ray says, are you going to teach how to get out trades? Absolutely. Yeah, okay. The way that this is a really cool thing. The way that these indicators work, they are dynamic. So, well, let's just, I was going to talk about some other indicators, but I won't. These move with the price of the stock because these indicators are traded off of actual prices and not projections, right? So, which, is fine. And there is no one, holy grail indicator, but you don't need 50 indicators, right? This one is worth its weight in gold because it can tell you things, at a second that you have to dig for otherwise, right? But again, the way that they move will also give, and I'll show you again, they're going to give us points to entry points, exit points, adjustment points, and multiple points of we're getting close to a problem, all the way to line in the sand, pull the plug on the trade from a price point and from a P&L standpoint as well. So I'll show you how to do that. And again, it's pretty easy. The indicator's pretty self-explanatory. But we're going to dive deep into it, tomorrow night. Yeah, and again, we're going to, if you don't have these, don't worry, we will get you, we'll get them all hooked up for you. You won't need them so much tomorrow during the class, as I'll be doing everything off of PowerPoint until the end, and then I'll work off TOS, and you'll be looking at my charts anyway. But again, easy to install. There's no tweaking that you have to do to it. So hope that makes sense. But again, the one of the cooler aspects is that these, they're dynamic. They tell you a lot of information, and they will change as stock price changes. And they adapt to what we are trying to, what we're trying we're all trying to figure out, right? So again, Raghee was using this primarily for directional trading for futures, and and I saw this and I was like, hey, this looks pretty cool. We gotta see if this works. And lo and behold, with enough back testing, It does. And I've been using them, in real trades here as well. I wish I would have discovered these, Raghee, you should have come up with these, a year ago. We could have made a lot more money. So anyway, let me get over here to the questions, and let's see if I have missed much. Angela, the indicators are, if you took the TOPS class, that is what we're talking about on the screen here, the indicators that are on the screen here. And Raghee, I love the name TOPS. I did not know that's where that came from until just now. That's really cool. Also, I didn't know how you came up with grab candles either. So, and I won't let that one out of the bag. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. But yeah, so Raghee, if you want to come back in here, and we will see, because I'm getting questions about Tasty Trade. Can't wait for Tasty Trade to get these indicators, and so forth. I don't know as much, honestly. I don't know as much about the mechanics of the indicators. Obviously, Raghee is the expert at that. So, Raghee, if you want to come back in, and we will get on these questions.
Hey, Bruce, I think we could probably be on the mic at the same time, so I'll be more than happy to cover some of these questions here. So if you don't know already, the class is, let me just show you here. And I'm gonna give you guys a few more insights into the indicators. So just sit tight here just one more minute, and I'm gonna walk you through a few of the indicators and how I use them. So I believe the class is 3 hours, I think. Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I'm committing him to another extra hour or something. We're going to start.
No, it's funny. I've been taking out slides because it's probably going to be longer than 3 hours actually.
Oh,
but
wow. Okay.
I'll try to keep it to a minimum.
Oh, very cool. All right. So I'm going to walk through some indicator questions, but I'm going to give you guys this really Cliff Notes version of the indicator. So for those of you that don't know, these TOPS is an acronym for the Obnoxious Profits System, which has nothing to do with nothing. It's just kind of funny, and it's a great acronym. So the indicators that make it possible: the 34 EMA wave and grab. Those are 3 moving averages that give you directional insight into the trend, better than trend lines, quicker than trend lines, and in a way that's about as objective as I've ever found. The grab are the color-coded candles, and they allow you to visually see if a market's bullish by way of green, bearish by way of red, or neutral by way of blue. And the combination of the wave, the grab, and the propulsion dots, okay, the propulsion dots here, is what gives me insight into the speed at which the trend is accelerating, whether or not momentum trades are valid, and how aggressive I can be with the trend. So these are available on TOS. These are available on TradeStation. They're available on TradingView. I think we have some of these available on Ninja, but they are available on TOS by way of a shared chart, and Bruce will share all that, and I'll share all that tomorrow. So part of tomorrow's class, and I'll have to get with Bruce, is I'm going to be spending a little bit of time walking you guys through some really basics on the, I don't know, well, I think Bruce has got some slides in this too, but you guys will know how to use the indicators, put them on your charts for free. These are free indicators like you mentioned, and then he's going to go through the process of teaching how to build these options positions with this indicator. And I'm going to be as much student as I'm going to be sitting in the background kind of helping out with some of the questions like I have been today, because this is something I've been dying to be able to do. Pick the brain of a 30-year options veteran and go, all right, here are some tools that I love, and I know they work great in other markets, but how do I build in the most effective way possible, in the most protective way possible, options trades with these tools? Because, you know, this is how I look at the market. And like you mentioned, at the tail end of the session, it's not a live trading session, obviously, but at the tail end of the session, Bruce and I are just going to share a couple trades that we're looking at with these setups. So I'm super excited about that. So I want to make sure you guys understand what the tools are, what they do. Okay, this is really about trend trading. And right now, A lot of you might be hearing all the fear stories about how this market may roll over and how this market might sell off. Well, here's the thing. When the market starts trending downward, you're basically going to use the same type of outlook for a downtrending market as you can an uptrending market. And that choppy market that Bruce showed you earlier, the example that I think he had on the rut, when the market was going January through July and it was going sideways, that's also something you can identify with tops. You know, the way in which the Darvis plots, the way in which the wave moves sideways, and the color of the candles don't stay steady red or green. There are ways to utilize the same indicators to recognize choppy markets as well. But right now, these markets are just continuing to move higher, and that's why it makes sense to, teach something, as he mentioned, the adaptive income method for the way the markets are behaving right now. And by the way, it's any kind of trending market, okay? So again, you guys can check out, and so I'll be in the background tomorrow tackling a lot of the indicator questions and so forth. And again, you can go to simplertrading.co/aim. That is the link to join Bruce and I tomorrow. So let me tackle a few more questions. And anytime you want to chime on in, Bruce, just you come on in with that great. Bruce has got a great voice. I'd listen to Bruce and Daryl. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they could dueling read phone books, and I would tune in for hours.
Maybe we should do a radio show.
All right, so there's a link, gang. I'll push it through here as well. HPP, it's simplertrading.co/aim, AIM. So a couple questions here. Hey there, Dr. Jim. I noticed that Bruce's Darvis boxes are extended longer than mine on toss. Yes, the link that we're going to share with you guys is what Eric Purdy very endearingly called slimy Darvis. It backfills, but it's easier to see. It's just a different plot. It's the same exact tools, but I don't know about you, but I've got some pretty thick glasses. I've been staring at charts since I was 16, so I'm sure that has something to do with it. So we're going to share the charts, and I've actually shared the version as well. You guys can have it. We've been sharing it for a long time. Daryl made this possible. And the indicators are just the start. Knowing how to build the butterfly with the process that Bruce has developed, and even the scanning. I think what really turned the corner for me was the scanning, right? I mean, butterflies are elegantly simple trades to put on, but the way in which Bruce is building the watch list when he tells me, no, Rog, that's is this what I want, what I'm looking for? And Bruce would say, no, this is why you don't like this, or this is how wide you should go on that because of propulsion, or because of Darvis, or because of any number of magical things that he sees, because he's been looking at this for 30 years. So let me give you a few more things with the indicators here. And I think the propulsion is really, really big, and Bruce will cover this, but propulsion is really, to me, the missing indicator to a lot of what I've been doing as a trend trader for the better part of 30 years. It's an ideal complement to the wave and the grab. And again, it's a really interesting way to see when the momentum can increase, but sometimes it's just as important to understand when the dots are not plotting. Now, I have white dots. Bruce's were pink. You can make them whatever color you'd like, but it's important to know when the market's foot is on the gas pedal as when it's off and coasting. And that is really, really important. So when grab candle colors shift from green to blue, there's a warning. When the propulsions come and go, there's a warning. So suffice to say, if you're out there looking for opportunities in an uptrend, you've seen some of our charts, you've seen what I've done in the room, you've seen the charts Bruce has shared with you here, but that's really only part of it, right? The other part of it is what I've struggled with: the watch list, the width, and the strikes. That to me are the three magical things that Bruce is really clarifying for me. See, I got a sneak preview of all this, so I know what you guys are getting tomorrow. And that's been really the big part of it, the watch list, because look, your trades are only as good as your watch list. And that was a big one for me. The width, I have chronically screwed up on width throughout my options trading career. My width is way better now, having listened to Bruce for so long. And the strikes, right, which is kind of one and the same. So width and watch list. Okay, so The 7 p.m. webinar, Mike, yes. So we changed the time. I apologize for the confusion, but yes, you got it. Bruce, you want to tackle this question from John? Will you get into
Yeah, I
details
was actually
of trading? Okay.
Yeah, I actually just saw that, John. Absolutely going to go into great detail. And I think Jim earlier had asked kind of similar questions, said butterflies are difficult in trending markets. And I think butterfly is a great trade in a trending market because you can do, it's a lower risk kind of trade. You can really dial up or down your parameters around the trade. And I would also say that, what we're going to cover, can be applied to any size account. I'm trading small accounts, large accounts, so forth. And you can dial these up or down. But I'm going to give you all the the recipe, all the details as far as creating successful butterflies. Where do you put your short strike? How wide do you make it? How far out in time do you go? So forth. There's there are moving parts here. And I'll show you a couple of variations and what is the most, to me, I kind of like to do the more conservative kind of plays. But I'll explain why I'm doing that and what I'm trying to get out of each butterfly as far as a return. And I basically make a trade plan for each butterfly, and I'll show you how to do that tomorrow night too as well. So I'm going to get very detailed on it, and scanning as well. That's easy. Using this, I have found it's actually really, really easy. It speeds up the time, put it that way. I can scan a lot more symbols in a much shorter period of time. So hope that helps and makes sense. I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions that I missed. It's going to be a fun class. You guys will enjoy it. And again, part of what I want to show you is how to avoid stepping on landmines. And the core is going to be how to take advantage of moves and how to construct trades successfully. And I was looking at, I've going back and forth the last 6 months on different type trade strategies and what's working and what's not working as well. And I just keep coming back to the butterflies, the way that I've been structuring them, and they're working they're working extremely well.
One of the things I wanted to kind of sneak in here, Bruce, and maybe you can comment on it, and I love this example because it was the TOW today, and that was, Bruce set up the TOW, but one of the things that I think you guys are going to find, especially with the way that Bruce is going to show you the scanning, is how to find when the market does something like this. The one thing we haven't talked a lot about, and I know Bruce touched on it with the Darvis, so I want to kind of mention what the Darvis is, because even if you were just to kind of learn how Bruce does, and I do the support and resistance of the Darvis, that alone will make a huge difference in the timing of the trades. And the reason for this is Darvis is one of the most effective ways to automate support and resistance. How many of you have ever heard of Nicholas Darvis and the book How I Made $2 Million in the Stock Market? It was published in the 60s. He was a Hungarian dancer, and he discovered a methodology by which he would use minor highs and minor lows and basically a kind of 4-day cycle to identify major turning points in the market. And one of the things that I think is really important to consider about Darvis, and it's one of the 4 tools at the tops, is that when Darvis starts to consolidate like this, when Darvis almost squeezes prices, there's very interesting opportunities for basically getting a heads up on potential momentum plays. So what is going to be the catalyst for a bullish trigger, because as Bruce alluded to, the Darvis isn't a projection of support and resistance, it's actual support and resistance. And by that I mean the highs and lows that plot the Darvis have to show up after a certain candle count. In other words, a minor high or a minor low is left behind. And in that way, we see where the market caught a bid or hit an offer and started to stall. And narrow Darvis, and you can see a bunch of them on this chart on ISRG. And I think we're going to have a really nice follow through here, because the TOW that Bruce shared is, I think, a really great example of how you'll be able to dial down deeper into this approach. The propulsion dots were there. The green grab candles were there. So as great as the trade is on the TOW, I think Bruce would tell you, you you could have done this a couple times already in ISRG. And I don't know, Bruce, am I way off base there?
No, not at all. I was going to say, you could do this. You could have done this, for the last, I don't know, since, if you look down at the bottom where maybe August, as you came out of the purple box and started going into late August, early September, you could have done this trade over and over 2 or 3 times. Same, basically the same setup. Obviously, we changing strikes as we go up, but yeah, and that's the thing. You can ride these things, once you get going. And for you guys in bias, we've done that on Boeing. We're on the 3rd Boeing trade, and I'm using the same methodology. We're just riding it as it goes higher and higher and higher. So, and it's pretty cool. I like trading the same vehicle over and over if I can, as long as the parameters are the same. Yeah, there's Boeing. So, I mean, you can keep, plug and play this thing over and over and over until the trend changes. And how do you know when the trend changes? It's right there on the screen. It will be, it will be very obvious when it changes.
And that's another thing too, when Bruce is showing me the difference between General Dynamics and Boeing, it's really obvious to me that looking at the 2 charts, one is obviously in an uptrend and has given many, many, many entries. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 since September. And then when you look at General Dynamics, and I asked Bruce, I said, if someone was looking at the platform, would they have traded General Dynamics based upon the Greeks the same way they would have traded Boeing? And Bruce said, yeah, probably most traders out there would do that. And I said, wow, so the watch list scanning that you're sharing is, I think a major, for me, just to me, one of the best parts of what you will be doing, because the difference between this and Boeing is the difference between pain and a party. And that's where I think that's what I'm looking forward to, watching the, for sure, watching the watch list. Sandra, sorry, TOW, the trade of the week is something we do here at Simpler. And Bruce had actually done a trade of the week. It was his turn to do the trade of the week today, and he did ISRG, which has even now been I think it's going to be a great setup. Okay, so Bruce, is there anything else that you wanted to share with them, or you guys have any other questions for us regarding the indicators?
I just wanted to, John asked, do we have to subscribe to the scanner from SO? No, it is free. It's a free scanner. And Ash, I will show you how I put watch lists together. And I don't mind at all giving you names. But yeah, we're going to go over that tomorrow as well. Scott has the loaded question. Think Darvis is better than Voodoo Lines? It's different. It's apples and oranges. And maybe Raghee is better to answer that than me.
Yeah, no, you nailed it, Scott. There's 2 different types. So everything on a chart is support and resistance, right? Moving averages are support and resistance. Psychological levels are support and resistance. Butting up against a 52-week high or low is support. Everything really boils down to just where we think the bid and offer. So it's pivots or support resistance, chart patterns. We get the point. So it's just a different way. I think they work better. I think they work great together. And quite frankly, if you have Voodoo, fantastic. One of the things that Bruce is so excited about was that the indicators that I'm sharing are free, but the process that Bruce is going to teach you, if you've got Voodoo, is going to work. It's just another way of finding support and resistance. What I would say would make Voodoo, in the way that I trade, what makes Voodoo even more beneficial to me is having the propulsion and the grab and the wave along with those support and resistance lines. So, the cool thing about the grab and what Bruce will be showing tomorrow, and the cool thing I can even tell you now is, because we are studying market trends, because we're looking at the organization, and take a look at this slide here, it gives you a good idea of what grab does. Because we're looking at the organization of a trend, it actually doesn't supplant any tool that you like using now. It only supplements. There is no strategy out there that really would not be better suited to understanding the underlying market trend, and that is Charles Dow 101. This is nearly a 100-year-old philosophy of understanding psychology. So it's really different. I think what makes Darvis work better is the grab and the wave and propulsion. I think everything by way of support and resistance works better by way of grab, wave, and propulsion. I've just been using Darvis since I was literally 16 years old. So that's where my comfort level comes from. So Jim, Jim, this is to Bruce. By the way, your suggestion on how to adjust my AVGL fly was extremely helpful today. Awesome. Jim, I'm super happy about that. I'll be taking the class. Cool, Jim. We'll see you there. Very cool.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks.
And Sunset, yes, the class starts at 5 o'clock tomorrow. So I'll be in the background kind of answering via the text chat questions about the indicator while you guys are learning about how to build these butterflies and capture these trends. And so we'll be kind of tag teaming. I'll just be in the background. Okay? As far as
going to be a lot of fun.
Setup, I'm sorry, Bruce, all yours.
I said it will be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then as far as the chart setups, Kevin, part of the documentation, part of the help, and I'll be in the background, like I said, these indicators in the trading app store at TradeStation. We'll share the open chart link for TOS. And then I imagine Bruce can probably walk you through some of the subtleties of the screen setup with the indicators. Yeah, or Daryl could just send out a shared chart once the class is done, maybe in the resources for the class after. So certainly I think we could do that.
Yes, because, I mean, you won't need it for the class, and it's a super easy install, to get set up.
Yeah. Okay. All right, gang. Bruce, you got anything else? I think that's what we've got here for you guys, and I hope that's what Bruce is doing now.
That's about it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So, gang, if we're going to be starting tomorrow at 5, it's simplertrading.co/aim, taking some of the best free indicators out there, although I'm biased, right? Get that bias? Ha ha. I'm biased, but it's really taking a lot of these indicators that I've been using for the better part of 20 plus years and being able to effectively trade options, specifically butterflies, in this current environment, dealing with trends. So it's just the gift that keeps on giving. So, gang, we will see you all tomorrow. Bruce, thanks, man. This is going to be fun.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.